Hello, welcome back. Today we are in A Course in Miracles, Chapter 1, Section 2, and it is titled Revelation, Time, and Miracles. So, paragraph 1 Revelation induces complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear. It reflects the original form of communication between God and his creations, involving the extremely personal sense of creation sometimes sought in physical relationships. So I just want to stop there really quick. Um, so keep in mind, because this is going to be talked about later in this section, revelation induces complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear. Complete suspension of doubt and fear. And it reflects the original form of communication between God and his creations, involving the extremely personal sense of creation, sometimes sought in physical relationships. Physical closeness cannot achieve it. Miracles, however, are genuinely interpersonal and result in true closeness to others. So, revelation is this closeness to God and this sense, this extremely personal sense of creation between you and God. But the miracle is interpersonal, so it's not personal, it's interpersonal, and results in true closeness to others. So sometimes we try and use physical relationships to recreate this deeply personal feeling of creation. We try and get that from other people, and it's impossible to do that. Miracles do help us get closer to others. So that's an appropriate use with our brothers and sisters, but physical closeness will never give us that true sense of revelation, even though sometimes we try. Revelation unites you directly with God. Miracles unite you directly with your brother. Neither emanates from consciousness, but both are experienced there. And I thought about this one. I don't know if I'm right on this. But consciousness, I think of consciousness like as opposed to your subconscious or non-conscious, I've heard it called too. So there are those things that we're consciously aware of, and then there are things that kind of happen in our non-conscious or subconscious. And so this is saying that neither revelation nor miracles emanate from consciousness, but that is where we experience them. So we experience revelation when we're conscious. We experience miracles when we're conscious, but that's not where they come from. That's not where they originate from. And it doesn't say specifically that it originates in our subconscious. So I don't know if that's what it's implying or if there's some other realm that it emanates from, but it just wants you to know that like this isn't something you can consciously control, I think is what it's trying to say. Consciousness is the state that induces action, though it does not inspire it. So it's in our conscious minds, what we're consciously aware of, that we feel motivated to act. But the inspiration for action doesn't come from our consciousness either, which is interesting. You are free to believe what you choose, and what you do attests to what you believe. So I think that's where hypocrisy comes from, right? When people say they believe something, but then their actions would suggest otherwise. It's because we're free to believe whatever we want, but our actions will always come from what we believe. Um, and so it's a good way to know what people actually believe when people aren't watching, especially, right? Because we can all pretend and put on an act. Paragraph 2. Revelation is intensely personal and cannot be meaningfully translated. So revelation is meant just for you. It's not really meant for other people. It is intensely personal and cannot be meaningfully translated. That is why any attempt to describe it in words is impossible. Revelation induces only experience. Miracles, on the other hand, induce action. They are more useful now because of their interpersonal nature. In this phase of learning, working miracles is important because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. Can we go over that one again? Miracles are more useful now because of their interpersonal nature. In this phase of learning, working miracles is important because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. So you remember at the very beginning, it said revelation induces complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear. So here it's saying freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. So you may not be ready for for revelation. If you're still in a place where you're not ready to give up your fear, then revelation is not going to be thrust upon you, because freedom from doubt and fear will not be thrust upon you, and that's what revelation is. And remember that revelation induces complete but temporary suspension, so we can still go back to fear. But you have to be ready in that moment to have that fear removed. So I think that is really interesting. So in this phase of learning, working miracles is important because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. So miracles can be kind of that intermediary step between, where you are right now and getting up to that place where you're ready for a revelatory experience. Revelation is literally unspeakable because it is an experience of unspeakable love. Revelation is literally unspeakable because it is an experience of unspeakable love. Isn't that beautiful? I'm just going to let you sit with that one. Paragraph 3. Awe should be reserved for revelation, to which it is perfectly and correctly applicable. It is not appropriate for miracles because a state of awe is worshipful, implying that one of a lesser order stands before his creator. You are a perfect creation and should experience awe only in the presence of the creator of perfection. I really want that one to sink in. You are a perfect creation and should experience awe only in the presence of the creator of perfection. You are a perfect creation. Okay, moving on. The miracle is therefore a sign of love among equals. Because remember, revelation is between you and God. Miracles are between you and your brother. The miracle is therefore a sign of love among equals. Equals should not be in awe of one another because awe implies inequality. It is therefore an inappropriate reaction to me. I want you to remember this is Christ speaking. Equals should not be in awe of one another because awe implies inequality. It is therefore an inappropriate reaction to me. An elder brother is entitled to respect for his greater experience and obedience for his greater wisdom. He is also entitled to love because he is a brother, and to devotion if he is devoted. It is only my devotion that entitles me to yours. There is nothing about me that you cannot attain. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. This leaves me in a state which is only potential in you. Can I just go over that part? There is nothing about me that you cannot attain. Okay, here's an important part. I have nothing that does not come from God. Christ has nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. So basically, we also have everything that comes from God. But then we've included a whole bunch of illusions and a whole bunch of misperceptions and all this other garbage. And so really, we already have everything that Christ has. We just need to get rid of all the other stuff that is unnecessary and untrue. So with that in mind, I'm just going to read it one more time. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. What an interesting thought, right? Am I the only one that thinks that's interesting? Paragraph 4. No man cometh unto the Father but by me, does not mean that I am in any way separate or different from you, except in time. And time does not really exist. I am in It does not mean that I am in any way separate or different from you except in time, and time does not really exist. The statement is more meaningful in terms of a vertical rather than a horizontal axis. You stand below me, and I stand below God. In the process of rising up, I am higher because without me, the distance between God and man would be too great for you to encompass. I bridge the distance as an elder brother to you on the one hand, and as a son of God on the other. My devotion to my brothers has placed me in charge of the sonship, which I render complete because I share it. This may appear to contradict the statement, I and my Father are one, but there are two parts to the statement in recognition that the Father is greater. I am not going to pretend like I fully understand all of that. And I think these later paragraphs help explain it a little bit, so I'm going to keep going. And please go back and reread, and if you want to contemplate on this deeper. So paragraph 5 says, revelations are indirectly inspired by me because I am close to the Holy Spirit and alert to the revelation readiness of my brothers. I can thus bring down to them more than they can draw down to themselves. I'm just going to stop right there because I feel like that might help. So, revelations are indirectly inspired by me because I am close to the Holy Spirit and alert to the revelation readiness of my brothers. So, remember, freedom from fear is not going to be thrust upon us. But when we get to a point where we are ready to be free of fear for that moment, right, that temporary moment, it'll talk in later places in the course about the importance of asking. And it says that Christ is alert to the revelation readiness of his brothers. And so I think there are times when we're ready for revelation, but we are not alert to our own revelation readiness. And so we don't seek for revelation, or we don't ask for revelation. And so if it were just up to us, we wouldn't receive it because we wouldn't know that it was time to ask. But because Christ is aware of our revelation readiness, he can bring down to us. He can maybe request it on our behalf. I'm not sure about that, but it's a thought. He can request revelation on our behalf when he knows that we're ready. And so we receive a lot more revelation than we would on our own because he's that. Like it said in the previous paragraph, you stand below me and I stand below God. And I am higher because without me, the distance between God and man would be too great for you to encompass. And I wonder if part of it is we wouldn't be able to receive as much revelation because we wouldn't know that we were ready for revelation. I'm not super confident about that, but it's one thought that I had, and I'm sure there's a lot of other ways to interpret it. Okay, continuing with paragraph 5. The Holy Spirit mediates higher to lower communication, keeping the direct channel from God to you open for revelation. Revelation is not reciprocal. It proceeds from God to you, but not you to God. Paragraph 6. The miracle minimizes the need for time. In the longitudinal or horizontal plane, the recognition of the equality of the members of the sonship appears to involve almost endless time. That was kind of a long sentence. Can I just break that one down? So in the longitudinal or horizontal plane, which to be honest, I'm not really sure what it means by that. I think it means within time, and time, we perceive time, which doesn't actually exist, but we perceive time as this linear thing, right? This horizontal, Here's the year 1990. Here's the year 1991, 92, 93, and I don't know. I just picked a random year. Anyway, so in the longitudinal or horizontal plane, the recognition of the equality of the members of the sonship. So when everybody recognizes that we are all equal, which when you think about all the social or political or religious or racial or, all the different ways that we perceive people as either better or less than us, the recognition of the equality of the members of the sonship appears to involve almost endless time. Like when is every person on the planet finally going to recognize that we are all 100% equal? That appears to involve almost endless time. Like, is that even possible? It doesn't feel like it's possible sometimes. However, the miracle entails a sudden shift from horizontal to vertical perception. This introduces an interval from which the giver and receiver both emerge farther along in time than they would otherwise have been. Does this make anyone else think about A Wrinkle in Time? I wonder if the author of A Wrinkle in Time read A Course in Miracles. So, if you're not familiar with A Wrinkle in Time, and I wish I had like an actual cool little thing. I'm just going to use my hand. So, you have your horizontal, right? Longitudinal, whatever, plane. And if you have point A and you have point B, you have to cover this distance to get from point A to point B, which could be a distance of like distance or a distance of time. So the idea in a Wrinkle in Time, and I think is what A Course in Miracles is also saying, is that the miracle takes you from this horizontal frame to a vertical frame. And what A Wrinkle in Time suggested is that when you create a wrinkle, then all of a sudden point A and point B are right next to each other. I'm not doing a very good job of this. Point A and point B are all of a sudden right next to each other, and you can just bypass all of this time. And all of a sudden it's like one moment you're here, the next moment you're here. You can just take a step and you're there. Instead of having to do. If this was 100 years, all of a sudden it's a moment instead of 100 years. And so it kind of seems like that's what A Course in Miracles is saying. I'm just going to read it again and you tell me if I'm losing my mind. Okay. The miracle entails a sudden shift from horizontal to vertical perception. This introduces an interval from which the giver and receiver both emerge farther along in time than they would otherwise have been. The miracle thus has the unique property of abolishing time to the extent that it renders the interval of time it spans unnecessary. I know, it's a lot. I'm going to keep going though, because I think there's an easier point to stop and explain. Trust me, the whole course isn't about like physics and time and space and whatever. Like this, it focuses on it here, but it gets into very different things later. So if you're like, I don't think this is for me, I didn't come here for time warp lessons, don't worry. Like this, it's a fairly short thing here. It's just this little section and we're actually almost done with it. So, okay. And for those of you who would have loved way more of this, I'm sorry that it's almost done. Okay. So the miracle thus has the unique property of abolishing time to the extent that it renders the interval of time it spans unnecessary. There is no relationship between the time a miracle takes and the time it covers. The miracle substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. The miracle substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. It does so by the underlying recognition of perfect equality of giver and receiver. Because a miracle, right, is an expression of love. One of the many things it does, but this expression of love has this underlying recognition of perfect equality of giver and receiver. And so that's why when you think about the sonship recognizing its perfect equality and how that seems to take, and it would seem like that would take an endless amount of time. The miracle, because it is a recognition of the perfect equality of giver and receiver, it shortens that time. It abolishes a certain amount of time. The miracle shortens time by collapsing it, thus eliminating certain intervals within it. It does this, however, within the larger temporal sequence. And I have no idea what it means by the larger temporal sequence. So if any of you are super enthused about this particular topic and want to share your thoughts in the comments, I'm totally down for it. I am not going to worry my pretty head about it. There are other parts of A Course in Miracles that are way more enthralling to me, but I do think it's cool that that is the power of love, of this unconditional love, that even if people on the outside seem to be a little like not as far along as you are, whether that's intellectually or spiritually or socially or whatever, that the miracle is this recognition that they too are a perfect creation of the creator of perfection. Like God only knows how to create perfection. And so therefore they are a perfect creation. And yeah, they may not look like it right now and they may not be acting like it. Neither do we, right? None of us act like it all the time. But just this acknowledgement to our brothers and sisters that no matter what, no matter what the circumstances look right now, I acknowledge that you too, just like me, you're not better than me, but we both are perfect creations. And I love you for that. Even if some of the stuff you're doing I don't agree with or whatever, and that can actually literally abolish time. That is such a powerful act. I just love that. So I don't need to understand all the mechanics of how it abolishes time, but I think it is so profound that it has that kind of power. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this section. And next time we will move into section 3, which is called Atonement and Miracles.